Welcome everyone. Hope you guys have been having a good 2-3 days at IGDC. So now we are coming almost to the end, but we have some interesting topics that we'll be talking about. And today's topic is around offshore development centers and how they are the new innovation hubs. So while you're settling, we'll start off with a round of introduction. We'll talk about maybe ourselves, what we do, and uh, anything else that we would like to share, maybe the games that we are playing currently, etc. Let's start with myself. My name is Jens Lukachan. I'm a general manager at Zynga. I manage Farmville 3. I've been in gaming for around 8 years now, and yeah, I play a lot of free-to-play mobile games, and currently the game which I'm playing is Monopoly Go. But yeah, over to you, Ryan.
I'm Ryan Faraji. I'm with Electronic Arts out of Orlando, Florida. I've been with EA for 18 plus years. My job in the company is I'm in part of the External Development Intelligence Organization, which basically a development director for managing external development relationships and consulting pretty much internally for EA.
Good. Shishi.
Hi everyone, my name is Sashi Menon and I've been with Ubisoft for 15 plus years now. I started out as a programmer, then moved into production, and I'm working as a production director at Mumbai. So I was previously with Pune, and 5 years back we opened another studio in Mumbai, and we've primarily been working on console games as well as mobile titles. Over to you.
Yeah, Ravi.
Hi everyone, myself Ravikant Sharma. I work for Scopely and I'm heading one of the title out of India.
Cool. Yeah, thanks. So before we start off, right, how many of you in the audience know what an offshore development center is? Show of hands, please. Okay, I can see very few numbers. So maybe let that be the first one, right? So what is an offshore development center and what is it not? Ravi, if you can start off that.
Probably I need to go a little back into the history.
Oh yeah, with the history.
Because probably people usually get confused with the offshore and the outsourcing. Yeah. So when you just outsource your work like to some other partner, right? Like maybe on the contract, that is called outsourcing. But offshore studios or offshore developments are the part of the mothership, or I would say like the same company, right? Those are your full-time employees. Probably the decisions are taken somewhere else, yeah. But they are working probably on the execution side, only on the function specific side, but they are the part of the same company, yeah. The roles works probably defined a little better, yeah. But they are not outsiders, right? Generally people do confuse with the offsource and the outsourcing, but yeah, that's what I wanted to say. And a little background in the history, I would say India, like probably, don't quote me, again, with the limited knowledge, whatever I can share, a few of the companies, it started as outsourcing studios, right? Those were like the different companies, but I would say back then, somewhere 2005 or 6, a few big companies like MNC, when they looked at the talent in India, right? Obviously, India is known for the talent, right? Art, QA, development. That time they started their own studios. Probably studios culture came later, but yeah, initially it's used to call the offshore studios, shopkeeping units, or maybe cost-effective centers, right? So engineering, art, QA used to be done by those teams. Probably your head of design or head of production is sitting somewhere in their HQ. They used to give those particular direction and more like on the execution side. But I would say in the recent past, like probably there are more people to talk about their companies, but we moved into the more like a studio culture, right? So at least I can speak on behalf of like Scopely. We believe in the studio culture, right? Whatever we do, like we give that full ownership. So I can talk, we are not offshore, completely offshore development centers anymore. We are fully owned, fully funded studio. That's we run our P&Ls, we take our decisions, we make calls to scale or probably do the optimization.
Okay, thanks, Ravi. I think that bit about how they evolved, that's something we'll go into more deeper during this. Yeah, thanks. Shashi.
Yeah, so my take on offshore development in terms of definition as such is, I think in Ubisoft we have a logo of sorts which became very popular within the company, saying "We are Ubisoft." So it was basically present across all studios. We were kind of using it everywhere. So it kind of reflects how the culture. So even if the studios are spread across 30 different countries across the globe, it's working as a one unit, so to speak. Where offshoring could help in this context is making sure and utilizing the best expertise from the different talents available from the different countries. And I think with respect to that, India has grown tremendously over the past 10 to 15 years, as Ravi was highlighting. We've gone on to become just purely from a programming perspective, because India generates a lot of engineers, as we know. But this was way back in the day, around 10 to 15 years back, and since then we've gotten into art, we've gotten into design, testing has been there. But not only that, with respect to audio, a lot of peripheral functions when it comes to game development, because when we talk about game development, it is not restricted to these skill sets alone. In fact, we've got some games like Just Dance, where we require dancers. So we have dancers. We have a game called Rocksmith, where we have which requires guitarists. So we've got guitarists as well. So it's essentially trying to find the best fit and the right talent from the different countries, and working it to your advantage. The other thing is also about, at times for companies of scale, they may find it very difficult to focus and prioritize all the different business games and possibilities that you're working on. And it's always good to have and to lean on to the other development sites to take care of projects completely, like the P&L, aspect, and to make sure that all operations or all games that are being developed from a company's perspective are running smoothly and are happening in the best way possible. So I think that's what an offshore development really brings value to the company as such.
Yeah, thanks, Shashi. But for all the dancers and musicians out there, you know where to go. Yeah, yeah. Ryan, what do you?
I mean, from my perspective on the matter, it's the term offshore really is not I don't want to say it's like a popular term in North America from my perspective. It's more of like you hear something like that, you hear like drilling or something like that, where they're trying to do oil production. Really, even the term outsourcing, we try to put it in a better bubble of saying external development. Any team that we have outside of North America are just considered our internal resources. Or if they don't have any IP, they just are internal resources. We don't call them outsourcers or anything like that offshore. We just consider it an internal resource. And then if they have their own IP, and they have their own studio brand, and what they support. So, and it's great. So I don't have any issues but that's my perspective on it. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, thanks. So just to summarize, right? So these offshore development centers kind of are owned by the parent company, which is not in the same country. We'll get into the reasons of why do people do that, but essentially these are in the same payroll, right? So there are certain advantages and disadvantages of being part of it. So we'll discuss on those sides, and that's the next one which we are getting into. So generally, what are the kind of work which get given to an offshore development center? Yeah, how has it evolved? Shashi, yeah.
So like I said, initially, at least from Ubisoft's perspective in India, I would say, we were very strong with programming to begin with, of course, on art as well. But like I said, we look to plug in necessities or requirements that are needed for the business as a whole, for the company. While at the same point of time, we constantly focus on talent, skilling, and grooming. So we kind of find the right fit projects, and that's how we kind of started out in order to develop our talent base further, develop the skill sets further. An example in our case was how we ported some of the top AAA games, like Far Cry or some AC games, for example, or some South Park games from some previous gen consoles to newer gen consoles. And that in itself was a big challenge from a programming perspective because it required programmers to rewrite our internal engines, rewrite the entire graphics pipeline, adapt it to the newer consoles, and it makes them much more confident to take on the newer generation consoles. And that's how we started, and it was a very good starting base for us. And today, it's not only on that; it's on art, it's on design. Uh, we uh, we believe strongly in the codev, and when we talk about console games, you literally have more than 500 to 1,000 developers that are needed who need to work across 1 to 2 years, and it's really not possible for one studio to do it. So the alignment, depending on whichever studio is leading the project, comes from the lead studio of sorts, the creative direction and the vision, while the feature development remains as a responsibility for the different codev studios who are involved with it. And what I mean by this is it's our responsibility, it is our onus to make sure that we are doing justice to the game. We just need to make sure that we are not deviating far away from the creative vision, but we are fully responsible for what we are doing. So I think it's come a long way in terms of how we've been contributing to a lot of our titles today. And again, coming back to what Ravi said, we've also got a lot of mobile titles which have been created from scratch from our studios. We have developed games, we have run their live operations, we continue to do live operations on some big titles, and which leads us to think beyond development in terms of marketing, community management, data analysis, product development of sorts. So it's kind of expanded, and is today covering all areas when it comes to game production. So it's essentially helped us build a team which can completely make a game from scratch to end. But when you talk about bigger games, it allows us to support these bigger games in the same capacity as well.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Ryan.
Even like the word codev, I feel like is like very new. Even in like I would say there's like 4 years ago we were having talks about what is codev. I don't even know. So I think as things keep evolving and changing, there's gonna be new opportunities and new places around the globe to tap into new resources. But in India, what I'm seeing, it was like we would say 18 years ago there was like barely. It was mostly just art. It felt like there was only a lot of art and there was a lot of IT. Localization happening here. And then eventually there was this shift where people are able to do even more. And I don't know where EA came in and how that happened with a couple studios here, but they've really taken the bull by the horns, and those studios are fantastic and are standalone studios. My role primarily has been focused on the art resources and mostly around external development. But the evolution of that, even seeing those teams, those external development teams being able to do even more, integrate in our assets in the engine, also do some co-development opportunities. And the studios here, actually, we leverage them to help manage those particular vendors, communication-wise, or even like on the day-to-day reviews. If we're like sleeping, they're helping us review the content while it's going in.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Over to you, Ravi.
In my perspective, or whatever I have seen, I would say we came like a long way, right? Like comparatively, whatever earlier it used to be like function specific work, very function specific work. But now, over a period of time, like the way the games evolve, the industry evolves here, the talent evolves here. Like I would say now, probably earlier, probably you will just send the engineering work or the art work, right? The way now I can see probably one problem statement, even like you will say they are not the full innovation hub, some of the studios, but probably there are like one problem statement, probably the mothership can send it to, or their parent company send it to that particular studio, right? They are operating now, like I would say not a studio, but a studio within a studio, or maybe like one of the pod, right? So probably live ops, like there are multiple terminology, like the feature of the week, or maybe I would say like bigger features, whatever they are working for, right? So uh, earlier it was, I would like just reiterate, like earlier it was more like a function specific work, right? But now you can see lot more like coming out of these studios.
Yeah, thanks, Ravi. So I'll just summarize what was discussed, right? So generally what happens is when a large company outside India wants to maybe expand, get more engineers, etc., they will figure out, okay, we'll start a center in a company, in a country where they can get a lot of resources. And slowly, if that works well, then they will start expanding to other functions. And like what Shashi was saying, it covered maybe engineering, QA, art, and now it's product design, etc. Right? Finally, live operations is when you have to keep that game running, right? And that's like maybe something which you would start off first. And once the team is doing that and understands this better, you can even start developing a new game out of that center, which is clearly happening in many places, right? So that's like a way how we can actually ramp up to learn more about new games, etc., right? And the critical point here is about innovation, which is also part of what we are going to, most of what we are going to talk about. So now let's say we have these offshore development centers where you start off by giving some work because you want extra hands and they are learning a lot from you. But then how can these places be driving innovation, right? Yep. I'll start with you, Ryan. What is your thought on that?
Well, actually, it's like they're trying to listen to in a cave right now. It's like the audio is out there, but anyways, it's fantastic. For the innovation side of things and what I'm seeing, honestly, I'm not as close to the studio as maybe some of you all are. But from what I'm seeing from across the ocean, is that it just feels like they're, I walked into the studio here, and I sat down and I'm like, this feels like EA. Like it was so weird. It's like I've been to probably about 15 to 20 different studios around the globe, and even in India, I was around like 8 or so, and none of them just quite felt like EA. But when I walked into the one here, it was like mentioned to my colleague, I'm like, I feel like a little bit of home here because I was like, the people there dressed like how we dress at EA, the culture, the vibe, everything was great. So I think what transcends across the different studios is that you get the EA culture, the EA brand comes with it. So that's what I love to see. So.
Yeah. Ravi? Yeah.
I can maybe add a bit on the innovation, and I'm glad that you saw India the way it is. That is very welcoming, of course. Sure, you experienced that. So on the innovation side as well, I think as we've progressed over the years, we've got some internal engines, for example, that we operate out of that are used to make our games. So today we are in a situation where our programmers have reached an expertise level, or our artists, or in the different areas as well, where we are contributing to these engines, and that's no easy task because it's always about making sure that we are making the best engines of the world today. And we, over the years, we have kind of continued to progress, and we are, developing on all these different areas. While at a local level, I think, at least in our case, we had an example where we tied up with IIT Bombay, and we opened up an R&D institute inside the campus itself. And the whole idea behind that was to tap into the expertise that a premium college like IIT offered on areas of AI, machine learning, and all these different areas, which we could in turn apply on our own processes, like testing being one of them. How could we automate large chunk of testing, for example, because testing on open world games is not an easy task, and these are a lot of areas where we need to focus on further and more. And I think it's developing more and more. We've had some very good successful collaborations with some prominent professors who are at the top of their game when it comes to these topics in India. And as game development companies, we feel quite privileged and happy to be working alongside with them to explore onto the new areas of research, not only within an Indian context, but within a global context that way.
Yeah, that's true. I remember while we were catching up, we were discussing about now how there are more courses around game development because when we kind of came into this, right, you would be doing something else. Maybe you're working as an engineer in some other company, but then you come here or you're a product manager in a B2B company or like e-commerce company, and then you come to gaming, right? But today there are like universities having specific courses, be it for art, etc., right? And hence a lot has happened over time. And like you said, right, there could be things which can be given to the offshore development center with the support from the mothership and with the local universities and relationships. They can actually take it to the next level. And it's no longer about maybe it being cost effective, but it's actually much even breakthrough things which come out of these centers in India and other countries, right? So one thing which Ryan mentioned about the culture, right? So the next question is around what kind of setups would be needed so that this works, right? And maybe what are the things where these can be a challenge? So like, yeah, I'll maybe start with Ravi.
Yeah, I would say you're dealing, I would divide into two problems, right? Because, yeah, we can scale with the offshore studios, like, but the team, that there is a difference in the team culture, like whom we are dealing with. And again, there is a difference for the players you are catering to, right? So, like, you need to groom the team for both the sides, right? Culture. So first, like probably I can talk like with my experience, like there is a huge difference in the culture, the people we are working for. A few people are casual, a few people are like very work oriented, right? Indians are like a little different, right? So probably like you need to bridge all of those gaps. If you're looking for a success out of all those studios from India, probably you need to work on a team culture. You need to nurture them. That is one part of it. And probably you need to nurture that culture, or I would say, you need to train them to think from the player perspective, right? Because the players they are dealing with, like, they are like a way too different the way we are in India, right? So it's not a day zero. Like when someone like, that's what I would say. It's not just the execution part. When someone will just tell you something and someone will start coding, it's not. The culture development is like a continuous iterative process, right? You will change over a period of time. You will learn over a period of time, and I would say we will improve and improvise over a period of time. And I would say it's never ending. Yeah? Prob-
I could maybe add on that, and maybe I'll take us back to India as a country itself. And it's funny how it strikes me. If you look at India historically, it's been always a sort of trading route of sorts between the East and the West. And I think it's somewhere in our genes to the basis of being able to adapt easily with different cultures. And in a lot of our co-devs, for example, that we work with different studios, we've received these kind of feedbacks where it's relatively easy to work with us because we have this uncanny ability of being able to adapt to different mindsets, you know. Like, for example, working with studios in Paris could be very different with working in studios with Berlin, for example, or with US for that matter. And I think what helps us is also is in terms of having some processes in place which keeps on checking in terms of whether things are going well or not. And so that is why an open communication that we kind of discussed before as well is very key to make sure that our partner studios are understanding as to what we are doing, we are understanding in terms of what they are doing, and we are not kind of overlapping or overstepping on each other's toes. It's kind of important to continuously take feedbacks at a regular intervals, which is what we also tend to do. And that's how I think the culture fit kind of aligns over time while working on projects for over a year or so. And because, I mean, you could maybe work on and it's not only about the country, it's also about different project leads, you know, because some projects may come with a different culture mindset, may want to innovate, may try out new experiments, while another project may stick to some traditional methods that have been followed. So it's important to keep adapting to that. And I think we are kind of very well placed when it comes to that. I don't know, for some reason, we're good and English helps us. It allows us to focus a lot. But as Ravi mentioned, an area that we could definitely improve more is in terms of the global or the Western audience expectations and understanding where they are coming from when we create design features or art assets. For the same, we try to bring in some expats into our studio to infuse some of their thoughts and allow our team members to also understand where the space that they are coming from. So I think these are certain aspects that we take care of while dealing with culture.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to take it from the external development side of things that we've done in the past, not particularly the offshore side of things, but the easiest thing, like you were mentioning, is just taking that lead or the project manager, plopping them, taking them, put them over in this country, and here you go, and then they instantly get it. And I think that's the biggest challenge right now. Is like even me being, I've been blessed to be able to go around the world and visit a multitude of different companies, different studios, different EA studios, and see how their culture is, how their environment is. And when I went back to the States and I'm sitting there working on them, like you come up with this whole new wave of how you're going to communicate with them. Honestly, I think just my observation in India, you guys you do the head nod a lot. So when you do more vid calls, you can definitely get a little bit more sense of what's going on in the call versus just having just a blank phone call, which you might have done in the past. Even still, like recognizing holidays too. A lot of people in the U.S. don't even like consider like, oh, they don't follow our traditional holidays. Like I feel like we're always the dictator of every single holiday around the world. But no, that's not the case, you know? So being empathetic, being aware of what's going on, I think that drives the success of the relationships between the different studios across the board.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Ryan. So to summarize, right, so then, of course, making sure that when these studios are set up, passing on the culture from the parent company is really critical. And if you look at India specifically, the ability to maybe speak well in English and the willingness to be flexible and running with it, right? I think that's something which has helped set up a lot of offshore development centers in India. So now the counterpart of this would be like what could be the reasons why this can not be successful? What to watch out for, right? It can also be in terms of maybe setting it up. And once you set it up, maybe things can change over the way. Not everyone has been successful, right? So there are some cases where it has not been successful. What could be the reasons for that? Things to watch out for. So yeah, Shashi.
I'll maybe start with echoing what Ryan said. Don't nod your head too much. Just ask questions. Ask questions if you're not sure of things. Just don't accept things the way they are. And that, I think, has been a bit of a challenge for some of our projects as well, where it's almost taken in as a signpost, in terms of or written in stone in terms of whatever discussions happen during meetings. And what we realize is one important thing is to allow our team members and prod them to and encourage them to ask more courageous questions. But that's again part of the culture setting that comes in with it. That's part of the ownership, accountability that you kind of build within your teams as well. So that's definitely one area to watch out for. Outside that, I think even today in India, with the talent that is available, it's not as plenty as what you would possibly find in the Western markets, and maybe more so on some areas like design. But I think that's changing. Surprisingly, what I'm also finding is, 10 years back, we had a lot of members moving out of India abroad, and it's kind of a brain drain of sorts, but it's changing. I see some of them actually coming back as well, and that's really helping the ecosystem, and that's allowing us to progress further. Another thing in terms of talent development is also the schools, and the more that we can get of them, I think that's good. So you need to watch out really in terms of the talent grooming. I think personally, I feel if you've got a strong team, then 70%, 70 to 80% of your challenges are resolved, and that should be the main focus in terms of building really strong teams. The rest will be taken care of. So yeah, I think that's the things I would watch out for.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
I will go next. I would say expectations setting should be the first thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Like whatever you are studying, right? Even with the offshore studios, like you can't just think about the skill. Probably you need to understand how well you can skill, how well you can train also, right? So that expectation setting should be done like from both the sides. Yeah. Like maybe like the parent company is too aggressive, right? Again, don't quote me. I'm not talking in front of from the Scopely perspective, but whatever I've seen, like there are parent companies are too aggressive. They wanted to scale like anything. They wanted to get outcome over the night. That won't happen, right? Like you are working for the people and getting work out of people, right? So they need to keep invested. Look for those development centers like as a grooming ground. And again, if that grooming talent is available, well and good. But again, there is always a limit, right? Because we are in a gaming is in a boom, but still we are competing with Amazon, Google, all of those engineers, right? So in that scenario, like probably the expectations should be done very well from the offshore studios to the parent company, and even the parent company also should understand the perspective wherever they are investing. And if that is done, probably the chances of the failure will be reduced, right? Again, uh, uh, the one is like as I said, like the expectation setting and the scalability part. And again, I would say we need to figure it out. Whatever the problem statement we are taking from all of those parent companies, right? How you will like deal it in the future. It's not like most of the time it's momentary, right? We scale, probably cut down. Like people have to look at, right? Today is like we are 50 people. If tomorrow we need to make it 500 people, what it takes. Uh, Probably these are the certain things come into my mind when you are talking about the failure and the success part.
Yeah.
I'm going to reverse question here. I'm going to be the moderator for a second. Do you guys feel like you feel isolated from the world a little bit sometimes, or like the West?
Yeah. So
No, I mean, not really isolated of sorts. I think, I mean, at least one way that we get over it is by having a lot of travels in and between the teams. So I think, I don't know, I don't see that
Okay.
as a challenge.
Same for you. Okay.
I think, in fact, I guess India, like unlike China, right? In India, Facebook is the Facebook. Like Google is the Google. There's no alternative, right? So in that way, I guess India is more integrated with what West thinks and feels, right? And the other part which you mentioned about when you walk in, you feel that you are still like in another office, right? So in terms of that integration, I believe it's like pretty strong.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I think just maybe the point on what Ravi was making, right? Regarding expectation setting. Generally, what happens is when you start off something, you might have like a tall order, right? But then once you come into that, then there's a reality check, right? And then both the parties have to, you shouldn't sign up for more. I think generally there's a challenge where someone takes on something new. We're setting up an offshore development center. Maybe they'll think, okay, I can do a lot of stuff, etc. But no. But then, yeah, that's something which is critical, I guess, what Ravi was touching upon. But Ryan, yeah, since you asked that question, did you want to build on that? Was there something?
I'm just curious because if a lot of times studios can get siloed a little bit from the overall company as a whole, and I was just wondering if that was kind of my the perspective there is that the studio can operate as a standalone and then they lose the sense to disconnect between the main studios around that. And then the same thing happens with external development too. It's like if the individual over here doesn't really want to communicate as effectively and efficiently with the other person over here, you just start to get this disconnect. Hence the potential failure to get to where you need to get to. So.
I can just add a little more. It's not about the isolation or like being in the silo. We are in the gaming and it's changing overnight. Yeah.
Right.
We are in like there is no tomorrow industry. So because of that pressure, right? The way the market is changing, the way we need to do things faster. Like sometime like I see people overcoming things. So I won't say it's a communication gap or like kind of a disconnect, but sometime like people do overcome things.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thanks. So I'll just summarize, right? We were talking about maybe what are the things that you should not do, right? One is setting expectations. You'll have to make it very clear, be it the parent company or the offshore company, right? And the other critical piece is once you have said that, having constant communication. So what Ryan was talking about, like not being in a silo, because if you think you are doing well, but you actually don't have any feedback mechanism going for you, most likely you are in for a surprise, right? So having that constant communication is going to be very critical. And the last point which Ravi made, right, how things are changing so fast in the world. So that's the other question I wanted to talk about. What is the future going to be looking like for an offshore development center, especially around a lot of this innovation now happening? Like the industry is changing quite a lot. There are new technologies coming up. There are new laws coming up. There are new game modes coming up, etc. So in this new world, how are we seeing this offshore development centers as centers of innovation? Yeah, I'll start with Ravi.
I would say future is India. And this is the people who are sitting, it's the future, right? Because we got the talent, right? Probably we need to find out the right balance between the technological shift, right? Probably the problem statement, like I would say problem statement varies. The innovation we are talking about, like there are different way to solve all of those problems, but that varies from what game stage you are in, right? So during the initial stage, there is a different problem statement. During the bid of it, different problem. And towards the end of the cycle, like probably like people call it the harvesting business. Like there are different stage of the game, and probably we need to identify those innovations, how we can do it right. That will give the sustainable fuel, right, to the company. That's how you can continue running more games, bring more titles from whatever the studios you are running in. And probably, I think we need to strengthen over there, build more trust, right? Both the sides. Obviously, it's not like one way around. So, building more trust, showing more talent, and invest in the talent. Yeah, because I would say 10 years before Zynga, there was no product culture in at least in gaming industry, or at least I would say in India, right? But you look at James, probably you are coming from the product background. Now, how many product managers we have, right? Probably 8 years before, like production used to be tagged along with the product manager, or like they used to call the combination of it. So that's like the involvement. Like you need to keep investing in all of those coming areas.
Shashi?
I mean, I'll be quick about this. So I'm very positive about India's growth story. I think we are well poised. We've got great talent, and we've grown a lot over the past 10 years. We are still growing on the talent perspective, and on the business side as well. India is a huge market. It's still blossoming. It's still not there yet, but I think it's a very well balanced, and I think it looks very positive to me at least.
Okay. Yeah, Ryan.
Can I pull the audience a little bit? I know everyone, you guys, okay. My question is how many people's parents here would let you go into video games, or like at the time? Like how many parents are like, yeah, you should go into video games? Okay, there's only like 3 people. How many parents didn't want you to go into video games? They wanted you to be something else. Like all the hands are raising right now. So that's I think that's the perspective we're seeing now, right? Is that video games have become some sort of a career path for the future of the next generation. And we walk around the floor here today, and like the amount of students that I've seen sharing me their portfolios and talking about what they're doing, it's been really exciting to see that, like, when I started 18 years ago, the evolution of where things are today, it's just crazy to see. And I think even in India alone, the universities that are popping up that are supporting this type of career path should definitely create an explosion of talent for the next decades and beyond that. So I'm not going to mention AI. I'm not going to talk about it, but that's another topic.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. So to summarize that, right, essentially there's a lot of talent here in India, and there's also a lot of technological advancement and university relations happening here. So this country definitely has a huge role to play in gaming and in the innovation happening there. And it was an interesting poll that Ryan did there. On the lighter side, my son tells me that he wants to build games. Yeah, he's a big fan of Roblox, and I totally support him. So we'll have more kids like that growing up. So I'm getting into the final question, right? So this is more for the audience here. So if somebody wants to join an offshore development center, right? Why should they do that? Like, what are the good things that they can learn from there? Because currently you can maybe go to a startup, right, which is not tied to anything, right? Or you can maybe get into pay to hire to pay kind of thing, where it's an outsourcing company, right? It's not tied to any parent company. It's an Indian company, or you can actually go into a company which is part of a US entity, right? So there are these multiple options. Why would an offshore development center make sense for them as a career choice? So, yeah.
I mean, to join, I would say I personally don't work at it, but I think for the most part, like I was mentioning prior, it's the culture you instantly get. You get a perspective, like you get a collective global experience, and the ideas and the philosophies and the goals of the company transcend across all the different studios. And it's great to see that, no matter if you go to an external vendor who had made their own culture, their own ideas, or if you go to a particular company who's over different parts of different countries, those experiences transcend across. And you had the opportunity, too, to possibly even go to those studios and work with other teammates across the globe and have a more global outreach, too. So.
Okay, yeah. Ravi?
Yeah, in a simple, one word, if I need to answer, I would say it's exposure, right?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Exposure. What exposure,
okay,
they can get, so I won't say, I've been the part of a startup as well, my own startup. So I wouldn't, put anything up and down. But, if you're not aware about certain things, you will try, you will fail, and then you will learn, right? Probably people get that exposure while coming into the companies, right? What are the right way to do things, right? But at least if it's in the beginning of their career, if they can go through all of those things, probably they will do things better. Even they later on they move into their own startup, right? Probably they will use that exposure from their own studio, from their parent company, and probably they can replicate it, right? So I would say, rather than Hindi, probably I will, there is a Hindi audience, thokar kha ke thakur banna. That's what we say, right? Why we need to do all those, right? There is a learning availability. There are people who have done it, right? Why not go, learn from them and probably do more things out of it.
Yeah, thanks. Shashi?
I don't have much to add on this. I think they've covered it all. Global exposure, culture, working with different teams across different countries, access to a lot of data that has been accumulated over years and years of tests and experiments and failures and successes versus a startup, which I agree would give you a little more range in terms of understanding different areas because it's a smaller company, you're working on a smaller scope. But in terms of depth and in terms of gaining a wider range, maybe with a little more time invested, I think, yes, bigger companies do give you that access and that growth.
Yeah. I think, Shashi, you summarized it for me, so I don't have to summarize it again. Essentially, there's a lot of learnings that you can just take off. And of course, if you want to move to another geography, etc., these places provide a huge opportunity. And even in terms of capital, I guess that's another thing. Generally, if you get into some place, you'll have to figure out funding, etc., whereas this already has that and security, etc. So that takes us to the end of this panel discussion. We can maybe take a couple of questions if there are any. Please feel free to put up your hand. Somebody will come with the mic if you have any questions around this topic.
It's all clear.
Cool.
I was gonna say, who was out last night really late? Let's say, okay. It's very quiet today.
Yeah.
Maybe we did a good job, or maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to take away, that we have covered all the topics. But feel free to come and speak to the panelists once this is over. We are almost out of time. But thank you and have a good day. I hope all of you enjoyed IGDC.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.